It's Friday, Memorial Day weekend, and it's sunny and warm as far as the eye can see. What a perfect weekend to go camping.
Where's the rug for that, Ron?
Let's see where we're headed today.
Where's the map?
On the last episode, we traveled to a deep valley known as Pennsylvania's Grand Canyon, where we camped at Black Walnut Bottom Campground, Motorized Site 19 along Pine Creek. This time, we're headed to the northernmost and tallest section of the Laurel Hill Anticline to stay at Forbes State Forest, Motorized Site 2. Let's get going. Just southeast of Pittsburgh, we've arrived at the first two major ridges of the Allegheny Mountains, Chestnut Ridge and Laurel Hill. We're going over the first ridge now, Chestnut Ridge. Ahead, you can see the Ligonier Valley, followed by the second major ridge, Laurel Hill. The tallest section of that ridge is right here in the north, right by Seven Springs Ski Resort. You can actually see it over there in the distance on the right of the screen. We'll be staying just a little south of that, a little further right. As I mentioned, Laurel Hill is tallest here in the north. You can see it getting shorter and shorter the farther south you look in the picture. We've crossed the valley and climbed onto the forested and relatively flat summit of Laurel Hill. These ridges are only a mile or so wide, so it's easy to see the whole thing in one shot from up here. We're getting close. Only 5 more minutes. Let's head down beneath the trees and see what the area looks like as we arrive at the campsite. The site is at the end of this beautiful gravel forest road where the Zufall Trail begins. It's just ahead another couple hundred feet. Okay, here it is. We've arrived. Nice site.
Alright, that's good. I don't know.
Mom and Dad get to work setting up the A-liner and the clamshell. As you can see, this site is mostly gravel, so it's not that great for tents. However, there is one perfect spot for a 10 by 10 tent about 20 feet into the woods along a little trail. That's where I'm going to set my tent up. Oh yeah, this is going to be perfect. This is kind of nice being back here in the forest. It kind of reminds me of backpacking. It even has its own little fire pit. With camp set up, it was time to relax for a while. Mom lit her tiki torch for the time being to add some atmosphere. We love this little torch. It throws off just enough flickering orange light to make it feel like you have a campfire going, and you don't end up smelling like smoke. We use it all the time, especially when campfires aren't allowed or it's too dry to have a fire. This campsite does have a fire pit though, so let's get that one going. We actually picked up some bundles of wood from a local store this time. Now we have 2 fires. Cool. We hung out and enjoyed the fire for a while before heading off to bed for the night. I'm always super excited to wake up the next morning and see what everything looks like since we've usually been arriving at night. It's like waiting for Santa Claus. Good night, everybody. Good morning. I'm just getting up after a great night's sleep. The first thing I usually like to do is warm up and take a look around with my eye in the sky. So let's do that. Up and away through the thick canopy of second growth forest and into the skies above the campsite. As we hover backwards behind the campsite, we're looking west into the farm-filled Ligonier Valley, back the way we came. Look at all those trees between us and the farms. That is what I like to see. There's the nearby Pennsylvania Turnpike. We've been hearing it in the background anytime the winds are calm. It's not terribly loud or annoying, it's just a part of the area's soundscape. Wow, what a view. Looking north, I can see the entirety of Laurel Hill. From up here, we can see the Ligonier Valley and Chestnut Ridge to the left, and the rest of the eastern Allegheny Plateau to the right. You can even see the famous Spruce Flats Bog surrounded by darker hemlock trees over there. Also, in that same general area is Forbes Site 1, pretty much right next to that bog. Beautiful place. We'll go out and explore in a little bit, but first let's get the morning started and see what everybody's doing. The sun is rising over the ridge now, so we are getting the solar panel set up to get some electricity. Half of this site has an open canopy, so we should be able to get plenty of sunlight. We set the panel against a table in the light and angle it directly towards the sun. Mom's by the fire pit making lunch.
Ham and cheese.
Today she's going to show us how to make ham and cheese melts.
All right, I think we're supposed to put butter on it, but I put olive oil so it doesn't stick. All right, and some ham. Some good Hillshire Farm ham. All right, making Ryan's now. 2 pieces of ham. Some cheese.
Bugs will be flying.
Good. What you do is you put the second piece on it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay, then you squish it. Get rid of the excess. And supposed to put it over the fire at night, but I'm using this propane and I'm going to keep moving it. They say about 3 to 5 minutes on each side. I'm going to check it. Yeah, it's about 3 to 5 minutes.
Boy, did this taste good. And it provided the sustenance we needed to start the day. Mom and I are getting ready to walk some of the Zufall Trail. Its entrance is right next to camp at the gate. This will give us a good idea of what the surrounding terrain looks like. It's a beautiful maintained grass trail surrounded by thick second growth forest and edged by cinnamon fern. We're not seeing any ticks or biting flies. The walk is really pleasant. We've come to a beautiful meadow surrounded by woods.
Wow.
And then what? You just keep going straight?
Not sure.
We've lost the trail at this point. We decide to continue across the meadow and see if the trail picks up on the other side, watching out for snakes.
Just basically straight that direction you're going.
Well, I checked my GPS and I can see that there's a road just
for a
on the other
bushwhack.
side of the meadow at the bottom of a forested hill. So that's where we're headed. We're gonna have to do one of my mom's favorite things, bushwhacking. Just kidding, she hates it.
Oh my gosh.
Watch out, there's thorns. It's right here.
Oh, that's the road?
Yeah.
Alright, we're gonna take a rest.
Okay. Taking a break.
That was some hill. Jaggers Hills. Beautiful day today out in Forbes State Forest.
Right about that. Look at that sunshine. It looks like a putter. Can you just block that road at night?
Yeah.
See what I can find.
Before we left Ohio, I was looking at the campsite from above in Google Earth, and I noticed something just off to the right hiding in the woods. See it? It looks like a rock outcrop or something. Let me send the drone up real quick to see if I can get a better look from here. Yep, definitely a rock outcrop. I don't want to try and navigate the drone any closer because of all the obstacles down there. Let's just go in on foot and take a closer look.
Okay.
Test, test, test.
Test, test.
All right.
Have fun.
Thank you.
The area just behind camp is a beautiful mess of boulders decorated with moss and other epiphytes, with a ferny ground cover, enabling free movement without a trail. This is pretty awesome. I'm having a great time hopping from rock to rock. This reminds me of some Mayan ruins in the jungle or something. I'm approaching what appears to be the main rock outcrop. The sun is blazing through the open canopy. The trees here are sparse and stunted. I finally made it to the bottom of the rock outcrop. It's sandstone, and it has some kind of dried up lichen or fungus growing on its exposed edges. I suddenly get the urge to climb this rock. Sandstone is one of my favorite rocks to climb because of the grip. And this one has some really sharp and defined edges. It should be easy to manage. After scouting around the bottom of the outcrop to find a way up, this back corner looks like the best route.
It's a very sharply defined rock. Wow. Oh, okay. I made it up. So you just got this beautiful rock outcrop over here, where it appears to just be eroding from the hillside right there. It's gotta be where it's coming from, right? Well, I would expect rattlesnakes to be hiding around in there. What a cool environment. Okay, I just took some footage up here on top of this rock outcrop, and I'm gonna climb back down very carefully.
As I looked back down the giant boulder, I had a sudden realization. Going back down is going to be a lot more treacherous. I feel like a cat stuck in a tree. That's okay though. Let's think this through. There's plenty of time.
Best to go safe way this time.
Is there another way? Let's take a look around.
Here.
There's a large crack going down to the ground, but I'm not sure how to use this. Perhaps an actual climber would be able to take advantage of that. But for me, I just see too many variables and things that can go wrong. As I run through every possible way of attacking this problem, I find some of the ideas my brain comes up with are just plain cartoony. Like, perhaps I can hold onto the branches of these weak-ass trees and they'll slowly bend towards the ground and let me down safely. Or maybe I could just jump over to that next boulder 15 feet away and climb down from that. But then at the same time, very real questions run through my head, like, what would a fall look like? Could I survive? Perhaps, but it's doubtful. I need medical aid at the very least, if not for some miracle. If only there was a larger tree around here or something I could use to help me down. All this vegetation around here is way too weak to support even half of my weight. Ooh, this side's even more treacherous. It's a longer way to the ground, and there's no features to climb down.
Just gotta pick your danger, you know? So...
eventually, I make the call. I just need to go back down the same way I came up. Not only that, but I'll need to do it the exact same way. I'll need to flip around while holding onto the boulder's angled, crusty top, dangle my feet over the edge, and mimic the exact same method I used to climb up. A fall here is absolutely going to be deadly, so I'm nervous. And I'm making sure to put a little extra muscle in, just in case. Alright, dude. You've got this. Let's get it.
This is precarious. I don't like it.
I'm moving very slowly, testing the grip as I go, being sure to save some muscle so that I can reverse and pull myself back up if I need to. The last thing I want to do is hit a point of no return and start sliding off the edge.
Oh, fuck. Camera. Okay. Oh gosh. That was scary. I don't like doing that. Whew.
I've stored this valuable lesson in the front of my mind, and I vow to remember. Always think about the descent. Looking at the sky during the climb is the easy part. Looking down at the ground below during a descent is a whole other story. Back at camp, Dad is adjusting the position of the solar panels to keep them facing the sunlight. It's a constant battle, but it's worth the free power. Mom's in the clamshell cooking up dinner. Let's go see what she's making.
Lena's Polish platter made into a goulash. A little bit of pierogies, a little bit of halushki. This stuff.
Oh, it smells good.
The food was amazing, and after eating and hanging out for a while, the moon was rising in the sky. Let's have a fire and watch some movies. Beavis and Butthead's on the menu tonight. This is a family favorite.
Well, see you later, Beavis.
I know we're supposed to be camping and roughing it, but watching TV next to the campfire together in the forest on a beautiful night is euphoric. And with the comfort that it brings, it's a great way to finish the night off.
I was told someone in here could do a job for me. Me?
Good morning. Looks like it's going to be another beautiful day. There's a small clearing just off the road near our campsite that looks like it could be a bog. I know this area has a lot of little bogs like this, as well as a big one a little further north, so it'll be interesting to see what this is. Dad and I are getting ready to head over to the bog right now. First, I put on a pair of waterproof waders. If it is a bog, these are going to come in handy to keep my feet dry and comfortable. Next is the chest rig. This contains bear spray, all my extra batteries, my radio, and my science kit for testing the water. To finish things off, I'll be taking my backpack, which has a mounted GoPro and a Garmin GPS device. The backpack also contains my drone, emergency rain gear, and some snacks and drinking water. Alright, we're all geared up and ready to go. At the end of the campsite's driveway, we're going to turn right on Lynn Run Road. After about 800 feet, the plan is to enter through the small strip of forest on the clearing's east side. Here we are. We found a small trail that actually goes back there. As we entered the clearing, I started to have doubts about this being a bog. It was actually really dry, and I wasn't seeing any of the typical bog vegetation like sphagnum moss. So far, it looks just like a normal meadow. There is a stone tablet sticking out of the ground over here. What's this? From back here, it looks like a tombstone with the name Philip on it. And there's a hole in front of the grave, like Philip rose from the dead and climbed out to roam the lands at night. Let's take a closer look at this. I can see the words Philip's pen, well placed, March 26th, 1962.
1962.
Pour some water on the stone to see if it helps identify more of the wording. Does anybody know what this is or have any history about it? If you do, let me know in the comments. We can see enough to know it's an old well or something. I'm not sure what kind of well, whether it was an oil well or water or what. Just after the stone, big patches of moisture-loving sphagnum moss have replaced the grasses. Although it's still a bit dry, it's starting to look like a bog. And wait, what are those little red patches scattered throughout the moss? You see those? Let's take a closer look. These are called sundews. These guys grow in waterlogged areas where the soil doesn't have any nutrients. Without nutrients, other plants have a hard time growing here, and so these sundews are guaranteed full access to the sun all the time. It doesn't get any nutrients, though, through its roots like other plants. This plant needed to do something different, so it grew leaves with glands that produce a sticky, sugary substance that bugs are attracted to. When a bug lands on one of these leaves to eat, it becomes stuck, and as it struggles, the tiny hairs with dewdrops fold in on the insect, trapping it further and then suffocating it. Then the plant produces digestive fluids which extract the nutrients from the insect and use that to grow. It's crazy. I'm seeing all this bog-like vegetation, but everything is so dry here. So I'm guessing it's not always like this. These types of plants need more water than this to survive over the long term. Here in the drone footage, you can see how the central channel drained completely, leaving large areas of dry sphagnum mosses and sundews around it. There appears to be one stream following the very edge of the meadow along the tree line that still has water in it, keeping the area around it greener. Let's go check that out. One thing I do notice is that this stream over here is eroding down into the ground, creating like a deep channel. Typically, as these erode deeper and deeper, the water level drops from the surrounding land and the bog drains. Perhaps that's why it's so dry as you move away from the stream. At least near the stream, everything is still healthy and thriving. Look how green everything is here compared to the dry areas. It's beautiful. The stream has a sandy bottom with crystal clear water and contains a stringy algae I could see waving around in the gentle current. Now, bogs usually have acidic and very clean water. Let's test this water and see how the stream stacks up.
10 ppm. 10 ppm of total dissolved solids.
To put that into perspective, your tap water usually has over 120 parts per million of stuff dissolved in the water, like chlorine, ammonia, and other minerals. This water has barely anything dissolved in it, just like a bog. Now let's check the pH to see if the water is acidic like a bog or alkaline like a lake or river or your tap water.
Do we have acidic water or do we have alkaline water? The water coming out of the stream is 4.5 pH. Quite acidic. That's what I usually expect in a bog situation.
Turns out this water source is perfect for a bog, but the deep channel has lowered the water table and dried the meadow out.
Has sunk below.
Maybe this stream channel was actually dug by man to drain the land on purpose, and that's why it's unable to flood into the surrounding terrain to make an actual bog with a floating mat of sphagnum moss like you typically see. There's just not enough water because it keeps draining away via this channel. This could be fixed though if you were to put a series of dikes along the stream. The area would flood again, fill up with clean acidic water, and become an actual bog again, start producing peat. That's what I would do if I owned this little piece of land. I'd restore the bog, manicure a beautiful sphagnum carpet, and plant ferns and blueberries around. Then I'd add a small boardwalk so you could explore without hurting the bog. This short clip of a documentary on YouTube by Nature Scott shows how they're doing this on a much larger scale to save their bogs in Scotland. The same theory applies here.
What it actually did achieve was actually stopping the erosion, because this channel that goes down here, all this water we see here today, was just whooshing down into the burn, taking the peat away and deepening the erosion channel, making basically the peat bog drier. What we're generally trying to do is raise the water table as close to the surface as possible, but also to reduce the amount of erosion that we've got here.
Alright, enough daydreaming about what could be. Let's finish seeing what is. Looking from above, I can see that the right side looks wetter. This also appears to be where the stream is flowing from. Let's walk over there and check it out. Perhaps this is the bog I'm looking for. Oh, I'm starting to get excited seeing wetter sphagnum moss and these beautiful cinnamon ferns. One of my favorite plants, this tall fern grows in moist, boggy ground and gets its name from the cinnamon-colored fronds that emerge from the center of the plant. And then it's surrounded by the more typical fern fronds with green leaves, which makes a beautiful contrast. They create these beautiful little clusters everywhere to break up the scenery. Here in the center, we have some higher ground where it's dry enough for trees to grow. It looks like there's some mounds underneath the trees and ferns. Perhaps these are old sphagnum hummocks. Whoa, it's definitely a bog over here. There's larger sphagnum carpets and hummocks, as well as an area of open water. This is just the spot I was looking for. Look how colorful these boggy areas are. One of the reasons I love bogs so much is because of the multicolored carpet the sphagnum and the other short plants create. It's a tapestry in my eyes, and there's nothing that looks quite like it. The ground is wet and spongy beneath our feet as we look around and explore. We try to limit our travel to small areas to avoid too much damage to the moss. I'm going to test the water over here in the open pool to see how it compares to the stream we just tested. We have a nasty looking pond with algae and scum on it. I can smell the hydrogen sulfide seeping out of the ground. Let's see what this measures. Gross. 11 ppm of total dissolved solids and a pH of 5. It's a little less acidic than the water coming out of the stream over there, and 1 more ppm of total dissolved solids than the stream over there. So it turns out the answer to our original question of whether or not this clearing is a bog or not is yes. There is a bog in this clearing. You'll find bog plants like sphagnum moss, sundews, and cinnamon ferns. But you'll also find meadow plants like grasses and wild strawberry in the drier areas. If you ask me, this is a pretty cool little place. If you stay at this campsite, I would definitely check it out. It's later in the day, and the sun is setting. We can hear 3 different species of birds calling out their night song. We use an app called Merlin, which records and identifies the birds based on their calls. Right now we have veeries, northern cardinals, and Carolina wrens calling out. They're communicating amongst each other, signaling the end of the day for the forest. The sunsets out here are so beautiful. It's dark now, and the moon has risen. The birds, humans, and the rest of the day crew has gone to bed for the night. Now it's the night crew's turn to be up and walking around out there in the darkness. I love to fight my own nature and stay up to witness the mysteries of this often hidden world and walk amongst the animals. There's no distant gunshots, no human noise pollution, besides the distant highway and the occasional passing jet. The night is an experience for a day dweller, let me tell you. Actually, let me show you. Let's go see who's up out there. I'm trying to be somewhat quiet so I don't scare anything off. Looking at the edge of the campsite, these are the ferns through the thermal monocular. Look how the central frond of the fern is colder than the rest of the plant, showing up a darker color. That's interesting. I'm gonna guess it's because these fronds hold some moisture to protect the spores, which keeps it cooler than the surrounding areas. Let's go to the intersection at the main road. I'm using my red light because it's less intense and much harder for animals or humans to spot from a distance. It also allows my eyes to stay adjusted to the darkness. I'm at the intersection now, looking at the gated trail across the street. There doesn't appear to be any activity there. If I look left, I could see down the hill and around the bend. It's weird how the road is unevenly heated. See those bright stripes? I wonder why that is. If I look right, I can see the bend as the road goes uphill towards the bog. This is where I'm headed because I know where there's water, there's life. Let me scout around here first at the intersection. There's a deer off the path in the woods towards camp doing its thing. That'd be the white-tailed deer, Odicoleus virginianus. It's always cool. Oh, here we have a mouse or some other small rodent. These guys climb over everything. You'll see them in the brush, you'll see them in the lower trees, you'll see them on the rocks, you'll see them on the ground. Oh, he just peed. Do you see that? There's a warm spot of urine in the branches now. I saw that. Look how it hops around on the ground. That's funny. Okay, let's head towards the bog. It's a really dark night tonight, but this scuba flashlight allows me to peer deep into the forest to see what I've spotted with the thermal camera, or to see the upcoming trail. It produces a really nice white light that is perfect for night filming. Not 1 minute after walking, I spotted something small about 50 feet off the road in the trees to my right. Look at its dark tail as it easily climbs around the tree. I think it's a flying squirrel. Yep, definitely a flying squirrel. These guys are an absolute blast to watch fly from tree to tree and climb around like it's nothing. There's something up in the trees about 100 feet away. I'm not completely sure what that is up there. I think it might be a raccoon or a possum, but I'm not totally sure. There's a good amount of life out here. This is basically what you're out there camping with every night. If you're ever wondering what's out there in the night, this is it. Stuff like this. The night crew. You know, now that it's standing up, it kind of looks like a hedgehog or something. Oh, just ahead of me in the middle of the road, a possum is heading to its favorite spot to get breakfast. These guys are awesome subjects for the thermal camera because they aren't hot enough to be a bright mess or blur. You can see every detail in their body. They do have a lower body temperature than other mammals, so perhaps that's why. They're even immune to rabies because of that. The creature slowly leads me to the bog as I try not to disturb it. Look how it wags its tail and its whole back end back and forth. It wiggles as it walks. Possums are so funny. I want to go in the bog so bad, but I'll be honest with you. It looks scary and dark back there. Even a deer would probably spook me in there. I'm hoping to get over that and get really comfortable out here in the dark, but I'm not quite there yet. Man, it looks so cool in there though, with the arching trees and the damp, cold, dark ground. Let's take a look around and see if I could see any animals. Hey, there's something about 50 yards away in the ferny undergrowth between me and the bog. I'm really not sure what that is. Yeah, I have no idea. It's something alive though. Looking down near my feet, I can see some little mice hanging out in the damp, bare soil. These guys are so funny to watch. The word that always comes to my mind is cheeky. As I'm finishing up at the bog, I look up the road and I see an animal up there. Is that the possum from earlier? It looks a little taller. Anyways, it looks like it's just hanging out up there waiting for me to leave. Okay, I get the hint. I turn around and head back to the safety of my own den, relinquishing the night to the majestic animals that roam it. Thanks. Thanks for letting me into your world, my friends. And I hope you have a fruitful night. I'm back at the campsite. Everybody's asleep, and aside from a few tiny mice running around, there aren't any heat signatures besides the windows and ports of the A-liner, the front grille of the car, and impressively the ground where the sun was shining. Gravel, rocks, concrete, and even trees hold the heat of the day for such a surprisingly long time. When I went to get inside my tent and go to bed, I noticed this large caterpillar just hanging out. I wonder where the heck he came from. It's a long way up there in the tree canopy. Did he fall? I leave it alone to rest under the safety of my rain cover. When I got in my tent and laid down to go to bed, I noticed that it sounded like it was raining, like things were hitting the top of my tent. See if you can hear it. And what the heck was that? I remember actually the same thing was happening in the forest when I was walking on the trail towards the highway. Here's a clip.
Can you hear that? The sound of like Rice Krispies?
I stuck my hand outside and it definitely wasn't raining. Interesting. I laid back down and went back to bed for the night. Good morning. Looking up, it appears the ceiling of my tent is covered in whatever was raining out of the trees yesterday. Small, dark particles of different sizes have created a layer on the top of my tent. What the heck is this stuff? Good thing I have a stereo microscope. Let's collect some of it and take a closer look. Mixed in with bits of chewed up leaves and stems, we can see lots of similarly sized dark clumps. On closer inspection, the waxy dark clumps appear to contain bits of processed plant matter. Do you know what this is yet? Let me tell you. It's poop. That's right, poop. What you're looking at is the aftermath of a massive insect dinner party high in the tree canopy that took place last night. This morning, the culprits have been making their way back down to the ground. Let's go say hi. This time of year, millions of these caterpillars hatch and begin eating to adulthood. They'll do nothing but eat and poop all night long. Eat and poop, eat and poop, eat and poop. And since there's so many, it actually sounds and sometimes feels like it's raining. That's not all that's going on up there. Other insects are eating these caterpillars and then pooping them out. Epic battles of honor for mates are happening where the loser is tossed to the forest floor. And not to mention, there's just clumsy insects who just fall right out of the trees on their own. But man, look at all that poop. Still want a cowboy camp? So if you were to enjoy a nice night in the forest without a tent, instead of choosing a nice tree to sleep under a clearing so you don't end up as an insect porta potty through the night. This campsite has been one of the better ones. I don't want to leave yet. Yeah, sometimes you can hear the highway, but it's only when the wind's completely calm. It's so peaceful and secluded with the gravel roads that I felt like I was sharing the same space as the wildlife. The local ecosystem and its inhabitants were our neighbors. That wild feeling is the feeling that I love. This place gave it to me. We'll definitely be back. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.